having some strugels. We're driving alone. And yeah, trying to get this all worked out. No doubt. Just be able to see the lady, see the doggo, and see me. We're all here. Tully Adventures, explore. We are driving to Orlando, Florida from Panama City Beach. We had ourselves a good old time in Panama City Beach. Been traveling way too much, so it's been a little rough. I can still smell and taste, but I got a little lung butter. So definitely not COVID, but yeah, a little under the weather. Been a little under the weather. That's okay. Also, the weather's been wild. We were in California, hanging out with the family, had our Christmas party. I had some medical issues there as well. I think just all the stress and travel and all of that. Issues with my neck and back. I've got arthritis in both, and so when they get stressed, they pull and tighten all kinds of muscles all up and down my right side, which causes some discomfort. And then we flew back, and there's pictures of that all over TikTok and Instagram and all of those good places. Brought the service dog with us on the plane. He did a great job. He's amazing. But it's stressful having a dog traveling with you, and he's trying to protect me, and I'm trying to pay attention to him. And then Jen's trying to... Jen's used to traveling by herself, and so she's got to switch up how she's doing things. It's a whole lot. But Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. We did get back. We actually did not set up our tree this year. There was too much going on. I was still trying to recover when we got back. And the day we got back, we drove like 150 miles, and then spent the night at a Pilot. So you can check that out once again. TikTok, Instagram, all those good places. And then we drove to Panama City Beach from New Orleans. Finished up the drive. And we enjoyed Panama City Beach. White sand beaches, beautiful little area, touristy town. But it was kind of dead. Like there weren't as many people there as normal. The whole COVID thing is really messing with the tourist industry. But we were happy to be there. We enjoyed it. Went down to the Pier Park. Saw a beautiful sunset over the ocean. And by ocean, I mean the Gulf. The Gulf of Mexico. Which, wonderful water, but it's strange. Like, same water like in Corpus Christi. It's just not as salty as the Pacific Ocean. It's not exactly what we expected.
When I walked out there, the floor of the ocean feels like lake. It's just mud.
Yeah, it's that muddy clay kind of feel. It's not sand or...
And then the sand on the beach was white, but it clumped together like salt.
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of.
So, we've had ourselves quite a time. Like I said, I've been having some lung butter, so a little uncomfortable. And please don't mind me if I have to cough some of that up. But life is good. We filled up all of our tires and our air ride system, so the drive is pretty smooth today.
Speaking of that, let's remind ourselves that when we're feeling it's probably because we need air somewhere.
Yeah.
Because today I don't feel that at all. It's
there's not the... Now when we stop and you're pulling an RV, the RV will still kind of clunk and clank around, but it's not too bad. Not too bad. Will you watch us on your phone? Just make sure the volume's all the way down and all that good stuff. It's nice to have a viewer, someone watching. Anyway, we're enjoying this beautiful drive. For those of you we're still on the 10, who've never driven along this route, I mean, it's just beautiful. There's trees on both sides, grass on both sides, lots of traffic today, which makes sense. it's the end of a holiday weekend. It's all kinds of stuff going
What a
on.
beautiful drive.
We do prefer to travel on Wednesdays because that is a little easier, but you know, life is still good. We're enjoying this. We're enjoying this drive, enjoying this life. We got the RV pulled behind us. You can see it right there. The doggo is hiding over there, and hopefully you can see that beautiful lady that is my wife. Okay, there we go. Now you can see her, kind of, a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. So, Jennifer, what I was hoping we could do, we've got about, according to Google, we've only got about 4 hours left for driving, which means we've got about 8 hours of driving left to go, because pulling the rig, 55 is basically as fast as we can go, and then we've got to make stops for food and this and that and all of the things. But we're excited to get to Orlando. We're hoping we can go to Disney World. You think we're going to be able to do that?
Maybe.
I don't know either.
Maybe.
Are you watching us now?
Yes, I am.
Nice. Are you, like, if you click on it, you can chat and do, chat and do some things. So there's a cool little thing up here. It looks like a director's thing, and that'll give you clips. It's a 30-second clip. So we'd love to have any of you out there take some clips, send them to us, or send them out on your social media.
I don't have that.
Yeah, you do. You just got to tap that, and there you go. So you got to tap the screen where you can see us, and then there's up at the top right-hand corner, there's the settings, and then next to it is the clicker. All right, so Jennifer, today what I was hoping we could talk about is, ideally, what is marriage? And within marriage, ideally, what are the expectations from each spouse? And why is it that in our world today, most of what you hear about is either anti-marriage or it's misconstrued expectations of what marriage is supposed to be. There's just so much misinformation, I guess, is the best way to put it. And we've been married for a little over 5 years now. We're still trying to figure out how to do this thing called marriage, because it's not easy, you know. I came into marriage with my inner vow that said I'm never going to get divorced. So actually, I just want to control the relationship in that, is it going to, it doesn't get to end unless I say so, all of these kind of things. And so the flip side was, I actually wasn't willing to get married because I was scared of getting divorced. And I wanted to have control over that so I wouldn't suffer the way that my mom did and my dad did. My dad ended up basically just drinking himself to death. And my mom, she was amazing. And on the one hand, she's my hero. But on the other hand, she, you know, put a lot onto me and my brother because she was grieving the loss of getting to be married and all of the things that meant. And then what about for you, Jennifer? How did you come into marriage? What was modeled for you?
What was modeled for me was a lot of yelling. It was very loud. It was very demanding. It was I can remember one time my parents were arguing very loudly, and it must have been in my early teens, and I ran in the bathroom and I was yelling at them to stop. And I think my mom came in and said, you know, no, this is good. This is how it should be. You know, everybody has disagreements. Better to get it all out.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, that wasn't really a thing. My parents did stay married for 41 years.
Wow.
Something like that.
But then what happened?
Maybe 44 years. I don't know.
Sure.
Then they divorced.
Oh, it's rough.
Yeah. And it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking to everybody. all the way down the family line. It was heartbreaking to my sister and I. I know my sons were heartbroken over it. And so it really splintered our family as well.
I believe that.
It
Absolutely.
really splintered our family.
Sure.
They've each moved on to new partners, and they each have very different relationships now with their new partners.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the first thing is, when we talk about, like what's going on in culture right now, the first thing is to look at the assumptions.
Ooh, okay.
So I think maybe we should start there. So the assumptions that
before we go there, so one of the problems I have with a lot of what the information that's out there is there's never a start from ideally this is what it would look like.
Yeah.
And so we start jumping off to all the assumptions, and we start jumping off to all this different information, which is helpful and good information, but it doesn't start from a foundation. And when you have all this information without a foundation, you can't build off it. It's not. So the whole idea is that you get a foundation that's solid. Ideally, this is what a thing would look like. And obviously, we're human beings, so we're gonna mess it up. And the ideal is there as something to shoot towards, not something to hold ourselves in shame or guilt because of.
Yeah.
None of us are going to live the ideal marriage or the ideal life or any of those things. And that's true for every human being. Even the people we're jealous of, people who are rich or famous, or they seem like they have the greatest marriage, or they seem like they have these things that we want, the cost of those things is something that we probably don't know. It's just like seeing people on Instagram compared to seeing them in real life.
Yeah.
When you actually spend time with people in real life, you find out they're nicer than the internet makes out most people to be, but they also have a lot of struggles and difficulties, and it's not as pretty as it's portrayed, in their pictures and such. So I'd like to start by, let's make a foundation of what the ideal marriage would look like, and then talk through some of the expectations that get in our way and how culture kind of sets us up for some struggles that we might not need to have, but it's just so normal for everybody that we all just kind of go along with it and get lost in it. So for me, my version of an ideal marriage would be where the man brings his physical capability and is the leader in physical things, and the woman brings her emotional capability and is the leader in emotional things. And kind of like you look at DNA and it interweaves and goes back and forth, the man and the woman are both willing to follow when it's the other person's strength and lead when it's their strength. And what's interesting is, I'm sure there are people who are married where the woman seems physically stronger. And of course, we also talk about or understand things like women give birth to babies, so doesn't that make them physically stronger than men, and things like this. But one of the phrases that we use is to shoulder responsibility. And we know that men have stronger upper bodies and shoulders than women do. And so the man would be responsible for, we'll call it, what is done physically, protection, things like that, and then is willing to submit himself to learning how to interact with emotions and grieve well and take comfort from his wife, because she is the one who's going to be stronger emotionally. Of course, part of what we're talking about is leadership, and there are great leaders and there are terrible leaders. But what comes to my mind as a military person is the first lieutenant. And a first lieutenant is basically someone who's about 22 years old. They've been in war college, so they've learned the theory of being in the military, but they haven't actually spent any time or had any experience actually living the military life. And they get their first assignment, and they are now in charge of a whole group of people. And if they're a good leader, they're going to understand that they don't know what they're doing, and they need their master sergeant or first sergeant or whoever is this person who's spent 15 plus years actually experiencing military life to teach them how to live the military life. Not just understand the theory, but actually do military life. But of course, the reason we make fun of butter bars, which is what the first lieutenant rank looks like, is because most of them come in and they think just because they know the theory that they're actually going to live the military life correctly. And so they get made fun of all the time because they're just trying to be a bad leader, do all of this stuff that's theoretical, that has nothing to do with actually living the military life. And so for me, that's what it kind of looks like to me. How can you be a great leader? You need to know when to follow. Great leaders know when to follow. Great leaders know when someone else has better information or has experienced or lived something longer than they have and can teach them how to do what they're trying to do. So another aspect of an ideal marriage is you're going to have a group of people who are there to help you along the way. You have some people who are your peers. They're going through similar things that you're going through, but you also have that master sergeant, that person who's spent 15 plus years or 10 plus years at least doing this thing, actually living this thing, and they can walk you through all of the mistakes that you're going to make and work with you. And so as a great leader, if you want to, as a husband, be a great leader, you need to have that person and those people in your life. And the same thing for women. You need to have that wise woman who's been married for 10 plus years, 15 plus years, who can speak into your life and show you how to be a great wife, and then peers as well. And so your spouse is not there to be your best friend or understand every single thing about you. But there is, in the Bible, it says, wives, understand your husbands. And husbands, love your wives. And love for husbands is to understand them as well. But when it says wives, understand your husbands, it means understand what respect is. What driving force is there for your husband. And so the ideal marriage is where there's mutual submission to, hey, this is where you're stronger than me. You're a woman, you're emotionally stronger than me. You're emotionally more capable than me. You handle your emotions better than I do. So teach me how to handle these emotions and deal with these emotions in a way that's not just me getting angry and punching a wall or doing whatever silly thing that we as men tend to do, right? So for me personally, that's kind of my ideal version of marriage, or the baseline foundational aspect from which you can then build onto. Jen, do you have an ideal version of marriage? Is it something that's different than what I said? Is it similar to what I said? What does the ideal marriage look like for you?
It's actually similar to what you said, in that as often as you want to lead or be in charge or be right or be whatever the expert in marriage, as often as that, you must also be willing to submit and allow the other person to be. And there are times when that means they're not doing it how you want them to. They're not doing it how you think it should be done. But
I really like that you hit on something. Jocko Willink is a Navy SEAL who talks about what good leadership is. And one of the things he talks about is a great leader doesn't tell you how to do the job. They cast a vision. This is what it needs to look like. This is what we're going for. This is, at the end of the mission, this is what will have been accomplished. And then allows the other leaders to then do what needs to be done, how they know to do it, how they've trained their people to do it, so that you can get to the best final outcome. So keep going with that. Tell us more.
So let's just say that you've decided in your marriage that 3 days a week, the husband's going to do the dishes, and 4 days a week, the wife's going to do the dishes. Let's
Okay.
just say that's the arrangement.
All right.
And the husband likes to wash the dishes in cold water, and you are adamant about washing them in hot water. Do you say something? Well, the truth is, if it's not hurting you, no. It's their day to do them.
Wow.
They'll do what they need to do.
Sure.
And when you do them how you do them. I think some people would refer to this as picking your battles.
Yes.
Like,
Biblically, it's called dying to yourself. Keep going. Keep going.
I think understanding the functional or the fundamental differences between how your spouse sees the world versus how you see the world.
Yes.
Coming to understand that there are certain things that will trigger your spouse. And that comes over time and
Sure.
lots of communication.
Sure.
And, not walking on eggshells, but being aware of those particular things.
Yeah.
At least the top three. Like, what are the top three things that are just going to send them over the edge?
Yeah.
And stay away from those.
Right. You wouldn't want someone to do to you the things that are most painful or hurtful.
Right.
So, in the same way, we miss this verse. It says, "Do unto others as you would have done unto you," or that's the golden rule, and it's how we actually have mistranslated the verse. And we miss out on that. Doesn't mean that just because you don't like chocolate, no, you should never give chocolate as a gift, because there are plenty of people who do like chocolate. The point is, figure out what it is that someone else doesn't like, and hopefully the ideal, once again, we're working in the ideal, is they know that you don't like chocolate, so they're not going to give you chocolate as a gift. They don't like oranges, so you're not going to give them oranges as a gift. It's not equal outcome. Like everything in this world, it's equal opportunity to connect and love on people. Can you check? We got a poor connection up here. Just want to make sure that it's looking good for you guys. But we get an equal opportunity to love people, and it's so difficult to love ourselves, let alone know anyone well enough to love them well. Go ahead, talk about it, my love.
We got Wheel of Death over here.
Oh, okay.
You want me to keep talking?
Let's check and see. We'll just take a little break right here and check and see if it's gonna work. Looks like we're okay. That's too bad. Are they? Oh, you can't. You see all the emojis? That's funny stuff. It'd be really cool to get some different of our own emojis that we make.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. I'd really enjoy that. Still, Will of Death is just done.